BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Sutherland, and this is the Scottish Football Podcast, your indispensable daily guide to all the big talking points in the national game. It is Friday, the 31st of May, just 14 days until Scotland kick off Euro 2024.
The excitement's building. I think you can see that within the group. Everybody's smiling. They're all buzzing and can't wait to get going.
We've got the latest from the camp as we look ahead to two important friendlies. And as if one European Championship wasn't enough, it is a huge night for the Scottish women's national team too.
We are representing and wearing these badges performing for Scotland, and that's the dream of some of these players from when they were little girls. We are all united and focused on performing and getting that objective.
We'll discuss the opening game of their Euro 2025 campaign and...
Simon Murray shoots, and what a goal that is from Simon Murray! And that's how you keep your place at the top table!
Red Rovers are probably sick of the sight of Ross County, but they're set to meet again. We run the rule over the standout ties in the League Cup group stage draw. Joining us today, Suzanne Lappin, former Scotland international, and Mark Atkinson, sports editor for The Scotsman. And Suzanne, this football season feels like it's never, ever, ever, ever going to end. And personally, I'm fine with that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I know. The national team, the women's national team, need to go again after the season finishing. The cup final last weekend, obviously for Rangers and Hearts, and now they turn their attention to the internationals and what a big game it is tonight against Israel. You know, the double header coming up. For me, it's massive for the group. You know, I think they'll be looking to pick up maximum points in the two games. A bit of a strange situation tonight. You know, we've been pushing the women's game so hard in this country over the last couple of years, but they will turn up tonight behind closed doors for that game. So, a bit of a strange one, but, you know, full focus on getting the maximum points.
We'll get more into that in a moment. Mark, are you marking out July as a month to lie in a darkened room? I know I am.
Well, Jonathan, that suggested that Scotland won't be in the final of Euro 2024. So no, July.
Late July. Let me just clarify.
You're right. Football never sleeps. No complaints at this end. I'm looking at maybe January next year to have a lie down. There's so much to look forward to.
Although I think there's no winter break.
There is no winter break. You're right. So yeah.
Oh, well, no rest for the wicked. I must say, I'm off to pack my Euros black bag straight after this podcast. More on that in a moment. Let's run through the latest Scottish football headlines. The Scotland women's national team head coach Pedro Martinez Losa says reports linking him with the Lyon job are just speculation as his team prepares to face Israel in Euro 2025 qualifying. The Scotland men's assistant coach John Carver says that upcoming friendlies against Gibraltar and Finland will be very important for those hoping to make a claim for the Euros. With a squad of 28 now gathered, Steve Clarke must cut 2 players ahead of the tournament. One player who won't be going to Germany is Matt O'Reilly. Celtic's Player of the Year has been somewhat controversially left out of Denmark's squad. In the domestic game, Rangers have announced that Chief Executive James Bisgrove is leaving the club to take on a new football role in the Middle East. And St Johnstone have signed striker Uche Ikpeazu on a 2-year deal. The 29-year-old spent last season with Port Vale and previously played for Hearts. Let's kick off with the men's national team. The squad have assembled, and the most important question has to be, have you seen the pictures of Kieran Tierney and James Forrest turning up with all their stuff in what looks like bin bags? Well, certainly James Forrest looks like bin bags. Kieran Tierney had a couple of white shopping bags. He's got previous, of course, at Arsenal, I think, turning up with a Tesco bag. But James Forrest, big black bag full of stuff. Did you ever travel for international matches with luggage like that, Suzanne?
Probably. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. No, I seen the pictures. It made me chuckle a little bit. You know, obviously James Forrest and Kieran Tierney probably go way back to the youth Celtic days. So I don't think we should be reading too much into that. But yeah, I know it's making the headlines for us Scots. We don't really bother how we turn up. It's just turning up.
No designer Gucci bag for James Forrest. It's quite endearing, actually, Mark. I hope actually he does get a proper bag in time for the main event, presuming that he is in the 26-man squad.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. The Scotland players had a laugh about this yesterday. We had Ryan Porteous speaking to us, and he was asked about the players turning up with a couple of bin bags in comparison to the French team, who I think were pictured dressed in Cuban heels, looking very glamorous. And Porteous laughed it off and said, "Look, we're a down-to-earth bunch here. No airs or graces. We'll just do what we need to do." And it's probably a sign, a symbol of where the Scotland team is. They probably had a laugh about it. They're in very good spirits, and I'm sure Kieran and James, will have seen the pictures, will have laughed about it too.
James Forrest can do no wrong at the moment. That is for sure. Interesting friendlies. Monday night, Gibraltar. That's going to be played in Portugal, and then on Friday we play Finland at Hampden. It'll be the big farewell ahead of Euro 2024. Mark, in terms of the Gibraltar game first as well, I think we've won the last two matches against Gibraltar. In fact, they may be the only matches we've played against Gibraltar, 6-0 and 6-1. So that bodes well, obviously. But what do you expect from that game in particular? They're kind of strange ones, aren't they? You're not kind of hiding to nothing as the sort of favoured team, but a crucial warm-up match nonetheless for Steve Clarke.
Yeah, given Scotland's recent run, winless now for a number of fixtures, this is a must-win match. It's a must-perform well match as well. They'll look at this game and go, right, get back on the horse here, get the confidence levels up. And it also gives Steve Clarke an opportunity to look at certain players that are on the cusp of the squad. As you say, two have to go, and he will use these two matches to make sure he has the correct 26 there. Gibraltar are improving ever so slightly from where they were last time Scotland played, but this should be a straightforward assignment. I think Clarke will also hope he can just get through this match without any injuries. The squad has already been hampered by club issues. The last thing you want is an injury in a friendly, but that's football. There's going to be an element of experimentation. He's going to try and give as many minutes as possible to all the players in the squad. I think we'll see a good Scotland performance against Gibraltar. They know how important it is to go into the competition with a bit of momentum after some difficult matches against good teams. Gibraltar and also Finland are a step down from what Scotland have been playing recently.
Suzanne, does it make sense to you to play a side like Gibraltar, get the squad together, take on, no disrespect to Gibraltar, but an absolute international minnow?
Yeah, I think, similar to Mark, I think, the games are there for one purpose only, and that is to get ready. That's for Steve Clarke to, get the players on the pitch, give everybody some minutes, make those final decisions. But it is key that they play well as well. They haven't had a very, very successful run of late in terms of results. I think some of the performances as well. So I think that first game, hopefully will get the confidence up. He might want to try some new things, try some new players, and then I think obviously come Friday, Finland will be slightly more difficult for them. But again, that fixture is all about getting the crowd on side and leaving next Friday with a positive result, performance, and a feel good factor about the squad going into 2 weeks from now when we open the Euros.
Yeah, big opportunity for Ross McCrory, who spoke to the media yesterday. He says he's ready for his debut. I mean, it is a big opportunity, Mark. I mean, he could absolutely conceivably be hoping for a place in the starting lineup come Germany, depending on how things go in these next two international matches. It's a big opportunity for him. He's playing in the English Championship, obviously, Bristol City.
Yes, it is. He's been playing regularly now since January. Right wing back is absolutely his position now. He was a utility man for a while, but he's very much played there for the past 2 years at Bristol City and Aberdeen. He's fit, he's hungry. And as you say, it's between him and Tony Ralston and potentially James Forrest for that position. He'll be looking at that and going, okay, I may be uncapped, but I'm playing more regularly in that position than both Ralston and Forrest. Forrest obviously playing as a winger for Celtic recently. And seeing him yesterday, he looked really relaxed, which was nice to see given the sort of viral issues that he had at the start of the season. There was a time, I think, when Ross McCrory thought he may not even be in the squad, may not even be playing at this moment in time, given the issues that he's had. So very pleased to see him there. He's a good player. He's got a good engine. very dedicated, driven player. You wouldn't actually be fazed with him playing in that type of match. He's got that mentality, I think, that is suited to big games. It would not surprise me if he does jump ahead of Tony Ralston, but at the same time, Ralston, part of a very strong Celtic squad, comes in full of confidence and has played well whenever called upon. I'm sure McCrory and Ralston will both play in these games, and it'll give Clark an indication as to who is best suited to play in Germany.
Absolutely. Tony Ralston will certainly have something to say about it, and it'll be interesting to see how that competition works and maybe help, in fact, both players as they gear up for the tournament. John Carver also saying, Suzanne, that Ben Doak is settled right in, like he's been there for 10 years. And I think that sounds exciting because we all know what an electric talent this young player is. Obviously went from Celtic to Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp's a huge fan. How big an impact do you feel he might have in Germany, potentially?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. I mean, that was probably the one name that probably excited a lot of people the most, just in terms of his inclusion. I think, I remember him when he was at Celtic, and you could see right away that, he had huge potential, obviously, now at Liverpool. And I think, just these sort of tournaments, they're always made for that sort of young, unknown player, if you like, for the rest of the world. And I think for us to have him, for me, I think he offers something different, that pace particularly. I'm hugely excited to see how he goes and, performs. And I think, personally, if I was Steve Clarke, I would 100% be taking a risk on him in the 26-man squad.
2 weeks today, we take on Germany. Can't believe it, cannot wait. Moving on, it's a big night for the SWNT, opening their Euro 2025 qualifying campaign tonight with a home match against Israel. It's a 7:05 kickoff for Scotland's women, and it'll be live on the BBC Scotland channel and iPlayer. Suzanne, this game's being played behind closed doors after the authorities said that they were alerted to the potential of planned disruption to the match. How much has that overshadowed the match for you?
I think if I put myself in the position of the squad, you can't let that overshadow as a player. You can't have any influence, on anything that's going on round about you. You've got to just be fully focused on the game and on the football. I think the biggest thing for me is what I said earlier in terms of, where we are trying to grow the game in this country. You've seen the numbers at the last game of the season in the league. They were down on last year. The numbers at the cup final probably weren't where we wanted them to be, and now we're going to go into an international fixture where fans can't get in. It's really probably derailing more what we're trying to do as a group for the game here in Scotland. I think obviously the situation around our opponents, it's there for every level of football, every competition that country's involved in. So, I think for the group and the manager, they've just got to focus on the football. These are huge games for the squad, really huge games. Similar to the men's team before that result against Slovakia a couple of months ago, they hadn't really picked up a decent result. They were struggling. I think performances were struggling with injuries in and out. I think, the return of Kirsty Hansen, Martha Thomas to this squad is huge, particularly Hansen. I think she offers something really different. And they are must-win games for the squad. So I think everything else surrounding it, they need to try and put to the side because it's a must-win, particularly home, but also when they get the return fixture in a couple of days' time.
Mark, we all know what's going on in the Middle East. We see the pictures every single day, and this match is here. Against that backdrop, just how would you put tonight's game in context?
The players have to remember that this is absolutely no fault of their own. They're just a victim of circumstance here. Playing the game behind closed doors is a security decision. And Hampden yesterday, actually, they felt a little bit more tense than normal. There was extra security around the stadium. They're obviously braced for something happening. And Scotland can't help the Aerodrome of Israel. Scotland can't help that that there's a debate about Israel's participation. That we may get clarity on that later in the summer when FIFA and the lawyers come together on the decision that's potentially coming on Israel's participation. But for now, Scotland have to just look at it and go, right, we need 3 points. And as Suzanne says, we actually need 6. They go to Budapest and play next week. It's a very, very tight group. Scotland haven't played particularly well in this group, but they are undefeated, and Serbia and Slovakia are still very much beatable opponents. But to finish ahead of them, Israel look like the team that are going to finish bottom of the group at this stage. So those points are an absolute must. They've also had to deal with the speculation over the head coach, Pedro Martinez Losa, who's been linked with Lyon. So this game has come with a lot of noise that I think the Scotland team could have done without. But you're hoping that the coaching staff and the people around the players are reinforcing that message. Forget closed doors. Forget the protests. Forget the noise. You've just got to go and win these matches. The Scotland national team's in a bit of a difficult spot. Performances have been scrutinised of late. This is an opportunity for the team to show that they have what it takes to finish, well, essentially the top 3, but you really want to finish top of that group to go back into League A as well, and get those 3 points. They got a very important win last time out, and you hope that they can continue with a few more players back in. But it will be a strange night at Hampden for those that are there. That is no doubt. The players are just got to make sure they focus on the task in hand.
Suzanne, briefly, do you feel Scotland will get the 6 points against Israel, obviously tonight, and then next week away in Hungary?
Yeah, I do. I think we have enough in the group. I think, that night at Hampden a couple of months ago against Slovakia, it was a really tight affair. But I think in the end, some of the experienced players stepped up on that occasion. I think, as I said, having 2 key players coming back, and Martha Thompson, Kirsty Hansen, I think we should have enough. Let's not kid ourselves. We should have enough to win those games, and to say if you want to qualify for tournaments, you need to take care of these games. So yeah, I do feel we should have enough to get 6 points.
This is the Scottish Football Podcast.
Finally, the domestic season's just finished, but already we've had the draw for the League Cup group stage this week. We missed the chance to react to it yesterday as we had a special episode looking at the situation at Inverness Cally Thistle in place of the regular podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you check it out if you want to know what's going on at Cally Thistle. Before we wrap up today, let's quickly have a look at the draw. 8 groups of 5. Obviously, it kind of breaks things in nice and gently as far as the season is concerned. Well, maybe not gently for the clubs involved, obviously. There'll be a lot of gruelling training and matches. I have to say, Mark, my eye was drawn to Ross County's group. They're in with Raith Rovers once again, but also Stranraer, which means a 532-mile round trip, 10 hours plus for one of those sides. The fixtures have still to be announced. I don't know, what's stuck out for you?
Well, I think it's County that might have to do that on the seedings, which I'm sure Don Cowie is delighted about. Ross County and Raith meeting again. I love the way football just brings these teams back together so quickly. I remember Partick going up to Ross County after their playoff in the Scottish Cup this season. Which group stand out? I was naturally looking at Hibs and Aberdeen because they're going to have new managers, and this group stage can be a little bit of a tricky one for underprepared teams. I remember Hibs missing out a couple of years ago under Lee Johnson. They've got Queen's Park, Kelty, Peterhead and Elgin. That's probably quite a nice group for Hibs. I think they'll be happy with that. Aberdeen have got Airdrieonians, Queen of the South Dumbarton, East Kilbride. Airdrie, that could be quite tricky on Pittodrie, but Aberdeen should progress. I feel for Dundee United, in the group of champions, they've got Falkirk, Stenhouse, Muir and Buckie, as well as Ayr United. 4 of those 5 teams won their leagues last year, so that's quite a competitive group. And I'm pretty sure Motherwell and Stuart Kettlewell won't be that happy to have Partick Thistle in their group. One of the form teams in the Championship last year, and they're strengthening quite nicely ahead of the season. They also have a trip to Montrose to look forward to as well. So yeah, I mean, I like the draw. I always think this draw is quite exciting in a strange way. It reminds you that the domestic football never really sleeps. There's always one seed that drops out. Always one seed that slips up. And I'm not quite sure who it'll be at this stage, but I wouldn't really like to be Dundee United, or maybe even Livingston, Dunfermline, Cove, Spartans, Forfar. When these games start in mid-July, it'll be fascinating.
I'm starting to think I'm not going to get my lie down in that darkened room in July all of a sudden.
No chance.
Suzanne, one other thing, and I don't know what kind of caught your eye, but Aberdeen up against East Kilbride, which means that Aberdeen have another meeting with Mick Kennedy of Darvel fame, and Aberdeen fans won't like me mentioning that, but that's the reality.
Yeah, no, I think I was actually drawn to the Aberdeen group, to be honest, similar to Mark, obviously going to be having, a new manager. I think that, creates its own challenges anyway, and I think, as you say, in their group, East Kilbride, that'll be, really interesting fixture. But I think, that tie against Airdrie as well. Like, I was really impressed with Airdrie, particularly in the playoffs. I really like Rhys McCabe as well and the job he's doing there. And they're a really good side to watch. The draw itself is littered with, really interesting fixtures. Again, Motherwell versus Thistle. That'll be really interesting. You can go down it, as Mark said, it's inevitable. Someone will, from the Premiership will likely probably slip up, but I think for me, if I was to look at it, I know Livingston have just went down, but I think the way they've been playing, the run they've been on, it could be quite a challenge for them.
It should be good fun once it gets started. That is all we've got time for today. Many thanks to Suzanne and Mark, and thank you for listening. Remember, Scotland versus Israel will be live on the BBC Scotland channel and iPlayer tonight at 7 o'clock with live text commentary on the BBC Sport website. And the domestic season might be over, but there is no rest for us on the Scottish Football Podcast. We will still be with you bright and early every weekday morning as we keep you up to speed with all the latest news in the national game and, of course, build up to Euro 2024. Fantastic. So follow or subscribe wherever you listen so you don't miss out. Scottish Football, the gift that keeps on giving. Thanks for listening.
Just a quick reminder, the Behind the Goals podcast is available every Tuesday with me, Rachel Corsey, and me, Leanne Crichton. It's your one-stop shop for our take on everything that's happening in the world of football. Just head to BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts and search for Behind the Goals.